So what about, of course, beyond all of the great business skills, what if your MBA experience was just filled with constant sunshine, both in the blue skies above your heads, but also in this case, some of the staff of the school. Nazir Anguk is for me a definition of sunshine. She's the director of admissions at the MBA program at University of Florida's Warrington School of Business, and a great friend of Centre Court. It's lovely to have you with us, Naz. And she's joined by John Gressley, the Assistant Dean and Director for the MBA program. So two very experienced voices. And perhaps, John, we'll start with you, just big picture for our viewers who are tuning in from all over the world and will be even watching this in the weeks, months that follow. This program that has really emerged in the last sort of 15, 20 years, so many great experiences and outcomes. Tell us a little bit about the program and the mission and the values, and obviously how that location plays into the Warrington experience.
Of course, gladly. Well, it's great to see everybody, and I want to thank folks for taking a part in this conversation today and giving us a chance to talk about what we think makes the UFMBA program great. But I'll start off by saying that UFMBA is housed in the Warrington College of Business at the University of Florida, and UF is a U.S. News and World Report Top 5 public school. That's a newer designation for us. We've been on the rise for the last decade or so. We're very proud of a lot of the things happening here at the University of Florida. Like most flagship public institutions, UF is a comprehensive degree granting institution with bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. We're built on a land grant foundation, and we have a very diverse community here that's dedicated to excellence in education, research, and scholarship, as well as service. The Warrington College of Business contributes to that by looking to strengthen society by creating influential research and fostering a lifelong learning community. And it really is looking to educate the leaders of tomorrow in both business and academic sense. As I mentioned, we have both that research as well as the teaching and the doctoral programs, as well as the Masters of Business Administration and all of our bachelor's degrees. UFMBA fits very specifically into that by delivering a series of high quality academic programs that are designed to produce graduates who are going to benefit society, specifically their organizations and communities that they will join upon graduation. And we do all of that by through a combination of rigorous academic programming. We have complementary professional development programs that are designed to bring to life those concepts that you learn in the classroom. And then we pair you ultimately with an individualized career coach who's there to help all of our students realize the benefits of their education, the application, and how it can be beneficial to them as they go out and market themselves for future career opportunities. And while today we're going to talk pretty specifically about our full-time program, we do all of that through a combination of modalities and a portfolio that's headquartered and based here at our home base at the University of Florida campus in Gainesville, Florida, which as of today is summer. And we're looking forward to at least 3 months of 93 degrees a day with a nice afternoon sun shower to cool us off right around 5 o'clock, depending on how things go.
It's a great start, and you talk about the rise and rise of the school. But John, equally Florida, maybe California's had its day as such a strong tech and innovation hub, New York. But I mean, some of these major companies are all relocating to Florida where they just find that the business environment incredibly dynamic, so international. Presumably that context really then feeds into the energy and the opportunities that students are enjoying.
I would absolutely agree with that. And we've certainly seen the headlines about folks that have moved from all over the world, all over the country. Certainly Wall Street has seen a big influx of folks moving to South Florida over the last couple of years, and we absolutely expect that to continue. Florida is one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing state, depending on the metric that you look at. And that's saying something given the fact that we are already by population the United States' third largest state. So we definitely look at our base of operation here in the state of Florida as a strong and growing and vibrant community, and certainly something that we believe contributes to our positioning as we look forward to the shaping of that society, as I mentioned.
Now, in terms of integrating all of that dynamic energy, Naz, into the program, tell us a little bit. Some programs are running away with 930 students, but just in terms of how you have then shaped the program, its class size, the flexibility, so many different options in first and the second year. So take us through the sort of experience that students are going to be looking forward to.
Yeah, sure thing, Matt. And thank you. And thanks for having us today. So, it's interesting because if we've learned anything over these last 2 years, it's really just that everybody's circumstances kind of are different and their schedules are different. And that's not news to us, right? So in the Warrington College of Business, and specifically in the MBA program, we offer, as John alluded to, a wide portfolio of MBA formats. We offer executive, online, weekend professional formats, but really, even if you take a deeper dive into our full-time MBA program, it's really important to kind of recognize that we have three fantastic options. If you're looking for a career pivot, if you just need more professional experience, you need a little bit of time to really just think about what you want to do when you grow up, although I think that we're all still still trying to figure that out. We have a traditional 2-year program that lets you do a summer internship between the 2 years, right? And this is a 22-month, what we call our traditional format, right? It's 48 credit hours designed for any undergraduate major. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of fully immerse yourself in the campus experience, being able to do so and embrace those sunshine and maybe rainy days too, right, John? And the steamy weather, but it's a great opportunity to really immerse yourself in the Gainesville experience for 2 years. But let's assume that timeline seems a little too much for you. I think that we have our differentiated programs and that we also offer 1-year accelerated full-time options as well. So we have, a 1-year full-time program that's designed similar to that 2-year program, but we've condensed it down into 1 calendar year. So same 48 credit hours in a 1-year format. We call that our full-time all majors program because it's still open to any undergraduate major. And then our third option, for those who already have a business degree within the last 7 years, you don't have to repeat those core business classes. We have a 10-month accelerated program for those individuals. And so, I think amongst those 3 full-time options, what's really important to kind of keep in mind is that, as far as our class size, we're small by design. And all of our programs are designed accordingly. And so we bring in about, I would say, 50 students per year, which compared to many of our peer schools is very, very small. But we do this for a couple of reasons. One, John and I, we can attest this. We're not just handing out degrees. We are changing lives. And we can only do this if we have that one-on-one career coaching, academic advising that can create that individualized approach for each and every one of our students. But the second is, we also have to, emphasize group work. So much of an MBA is about networking, and we'll talk about this in more depth here momentarily. But it's networking, and going above and beyond that, it's collaboration. And so, what really differentiates, I would say, even for listeners, if you're thinking about an MBA versus just any other graduate, maybe specialized master's degree, it's really the fact that at the end of the day, it's learning from your peers. It's when we are creating our classes, how will this individual be as a teammate? How will they work together in groups and teams on course assignments? Who will they be in our clubs and organizations? Or, as we work through case competitions and even maybe travel together on our global immersion opportunities. And so, again, it's really about being intentional with our small class size that we can give each applicant and then therefore students, that opportunity to really figure out where their place, their home is here in the Warrington College of Business and specifically the UF MBA family.
Right. So there's a great diversity of options, to match different stages, different priorities for each individual. And presumably, John, as both of you and with colleagues, you're sort of crafting the next incoming class. You're thinking about 50 very distinct individuals. As you think in terms of diversity, what does that mean to the school? And ultimately, through professional background, through ethnicity, gender, all of these different ways to look at that. So what does it mean to you, and how does it then contribute to the learning experience that Naz was describing?
Absolutely. And I mentioned the diverse population here at the University of Florida in my opening, and certainly that's a critical part of what we're doing here at the UF MBA program, because let's face it, as future organizational leaders, CEOs, people who are navigating a very volatile and uncertain global macroeconomic environment, you've got to understand the playing field. And so when we think about diversity, we're thinking about it both broadly, in terms of the world is a very diverse place, but also from an individual standpoint, how do we curate these cohorts so that you get exposure to different philosophies, different backgrounds, different ways of living and thinking, because being able to understand that and to add that competency to your toolkit as a future manager, as a future leader, certainly sets you up and prepares you to be able to navigate tough conversations, whether it's with people that you're working with. If you're trying to convince your team about what's good for the organization and how to move it forward, you've got to understand how 5, 10, 15, 20, 300, 3,000 people think. And if you live and work and prepare yourself in a homogeneous environment where everybody thinks and acts like you, you're not prepared when somebody says, well, wait a minute, what about that? And I think we've all heard plenty of stories about, product design teams who come up with a great idea and they build it out and they work through it. And then somebody's like, well, have you thought about how this impacts, let's say, a woman? And you find out that the product design board had just a bunch of men on it, and they don't think about the fact that that just wouldn't work. And so, when we talk about diversity, we talk about bringing that kind of a mentality. And so you're thinking about all of your potential consumers, all of the things that could impact a product launch or a service delivery or whatever it is you're doing. And so we talk about diversity of all sorts. You mentioned gender, you mentioned culture, and we certainly look at those. When you're a big state like Florida, you're going to pull in a broad diverse population anyway, and so we like to use that as part of our admissions criteria, because we know that to be representative of the state where we sit, we've got to have a broad group of people, and so that's a big part of it. But we don't stop there. We've got physical ability as part of one of the things that we think about. We've got a very intentional focus from a program standpoint and a college standpoint, and why diversity matters, and certainly inclusion matters, because that's a big part of helping students be successful, right? Bringing in diverse perspectives only works if you figure out a way to include them in the conversation. And so it goes hand in hand that we want to be diverse and that we want to be inclusive. And we do that programmatically. We also have a pretty active and thoughtful student body as we talk about curating the people in the program. They're thinking about those things. The diversity, equity, and inclusion leadership of our student groups is very active. We've got anywhere between 8 to a dozen clubs at any given time, depending on who's in the program and what their focus area is. That's focused on Hispanic business students or Black business students or the LGBTQ plus group, all sorts of different things that are student driven, they're student sourced. So as Naz mentioned, teamwork, you get that interaction at the organic grassroots level, local level, if you will. You also see it from the program, you see it from the college, from the university, and all that comes together to form what we hope and what we strive for in a diverse environment that gives students the skills to learn and to think and to function in an uncertain, diverse macroeconomic climate. So when you hire them, you've got confidence that they can go out there and be contributors, that they're going to rally your workforce, that they're going to create opportunities for everyone to be a part of the conversation, so that you're maximizing the value to the organization, both in human capital and future potential.
I was nodding my head as you were describing that group of male engineers and what their outcomes were. I should have been shaking my head as you gave that great example. You also mentioned, John, Warrington College within the University of Florida. So does that also then give the business students opportunities to, spend time with other individuals looking at computer science, life science? I mean, there's so much within UF. How does that also then contribute?
We have a couple of different joint programs that we offer. A lot of them are more designed for our professional students, honestly, but we have those relationships. And so it goes back to that conversation of what makes us special, what differentiates us is that small by design. So if a student comes in and says, I have a background in engineering and I really want to complement my business concepts with something in the engineering space, we have elective courses in there, and we do have some opportunities for that conversation to happen. We have pathways for folks to explore those things. It's not generally something that we focus on because, again, with the size of our population, we're pretty local here in Warrington, and we're doing our best to hit them with as much business as we can. But there certainly are opportunities to branch out, and UF has, I think it's 12 different colleges. And that ranges from engineering and health sciences and liberal arts and sciences and the fine arts and all those things. So there are lots of places to interact with the University of Florida, and our students are certainly part of the community here in Gainesville. Anecdotally, I think we probably get a lot of interaction through the social circle as much as we do through the academic circle. Because the population is small, they tend to make friendships outside of the College of Business. And so we see a lot of sort of social interdisciplinary work as opposed to some of the intentional academic interdisciplinary work. But part of that is a function of we got a lot of information to cover, and we try and do it as quickly as possible so we can get them back in the workforce and they can begin to maximize that return on their investment. And so every course we teach that isn't in management or finance or accounting or operations management is a course that they potentially could have done in that space. And so that's why we focus a lot on our business concepts. But it's certainly impossible to be on campus and to not see the opportunities to interact. And we've got case competitions and big idea competitions and things like that where we'll see cross-functional teams form. But a lot of that is student driven, and that's part of the power of being small and having that individual focus.
Right. John talks now about sort of challenging the students with business. Now, you yourself have a very distinguished academic career. And within that business framework, finance, accounting, strategy, marketing, so many courses, but there's the whole element of the UF MBA that is developing soft skills. So talk to us a little bit about that balance and perhaps, how individuals are then learning about themselves and skills that they just may not have even known that they had.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Matt. So, I think, and John touched up on this earlier, the fact that, we offer so much in our MBA program that isn't just the curriculum, right? I mean, there are tons of co-curricular opportunities. We really pride ourselves on having, the professional development and being able to kind of fine-tune other skills such as storytelling beyond the Excel training or Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma. But I talk about specifically kind of these other soft skills. With a 48 credit or a 32 credit hour program, our students, they obviously get the technical background, right? They understand the technical requirements required by the modern day workforce. Having said that, I think it also what sets us apart is the fact that we can cultivate these soft skills. We talk about how collaboration and intentional community is a part of our MBA DNA. But it's important to recognize that as you're working with your classmates, especially towards common goals, right? Not only of getting through the rigor of the class that you're in, finance, ops, man, whatever it is, that it's also important that we kind of build our students to be more active listeners, to focus on EQ, not, IQ, leadership, like I said, storytelling, creative problem solving. And these are all those other skill sets that employers are looking for, right? But it ultimately boils down to, even in the interview process, we're starting to think about how coachable these candidates are as we recognize they're going to be entering our classes. How will they be able to manage and handle the technical side, the business side of things, but also those soft skills as well that are equally as important?
And if I was to sit down, of course, on a very sunny day with some of the graduating students, reflecting on the year or the 2 years that they just enjoyed, Naz, what are the sort of things that they might share, and even some of the unexpected highlights that they'd enjoyed in the program?
Yeah, I would say the hallmarks of our program, beyond being small by design and being able to come in, I think all of you listening today probably are thinking an MBA program might be a fairly, I'm not going to say cutthroat environment, but it's a competitive environment, right? Because everybody's looking to not only invest in themselves, whether it be for 2 years or 1 year, but they want those great jobs post-graduation. But I think people oftentimes think an MBA is going to be a highly competitive experience. And for sure it can be, but once you join the Gator Nation, once you join this UF MBA family, you realize how much support and care is cultivated throughout our program. Everything from not only the admissions process to how we interact with our students all the way through graduation and engagement on the alumni side is focused on the student. And so I would say some of the big hallmarks of our program are the fact that, these students come together, they become a family. They tailgate together. They, go to case competitions, national career fairs together. They spring break together. They do all of these events together. They live life together. They form bonds that they will continue to have for years to come. And so, we do have, over 12,000 MBA alums out there. We have over 75,000 Warrington Gators in the workforce. We have over 500,000 Gators. And I think that's ultimately a testament to the Gator Nation being everywhere and the vast network of Gators globally. And so I think that being small, but then also being a part of this huge network really is what makes us so special.
And there was me thinking, most of the Gators are in Florida, but if there's 500,000 of them all over the country, they really are everywhere. John, from what Naz is describing, I can imagine perhaps two classmates, maybe they're both applying, to work in the same company, that they're probably the first two to say, how can I help you prepare that interview, or, be case ready? Talk to us just a little bit about careers, both the role of that internship between year 1 and year 2, and everything that your team is putting together, again, to provide that very personalized coaching and prepare them for the next steps of their career.
Absolutely. And I think that's a totally fair example for what it's worth. We have lots of examples where students will go out and interview with a company, and they'll come back and they'll talk and debrief with our career coaching team about how the experience went, what kind of questions were asked. And I don't think that's uncommon at any of our peers out there. So I think a lot of we certainly are friends with a lot of their MBA programs out there, and we know that they've got great career services offerings also, and it's not uncommon to hear that. But part of what sets us apart is that size and the ability to know everybody. And so when we talk about our career experience, we're providing individual personalized feedback from that. So we have had, and I will consider my source, but we've had students come back from interviews with big companies like Amazon or Meta and say that they've been in waiting rooms for on-campus or on-site interviews with other MBA students for the same role, and there will be people from the same school who've never met each other. They're sitting in the room, they're like, "Oh, you're at so and so, and I'm also at so and so," and they had no idea who they were. And that is probably a little bit of the in the trenches kind of story that comes back from our students, but I guarantee you that doesn't happen at the University of Florida MBA program. You know everybody. So when John tells Naz that when I went to Amazon, this is what I felt and this is what I experienced, she can contextualize that and use that to make her experience much more relevant to her. And that goes to our career coaches who are from day one in the admissions process, in the interview. So they're already talking with you when you're looking at the University of Florida about what it is your career goals are, and making sure that they're aligned with what our programming and our academics can set people up to do. If you come in here and say that I want to be a really strong investment banker on Wall Street, we can certainly categorize where that would fit, what kind of a curriculum might make sense for you, and whether or not we're really going to be able to connect you with the resources to make that happen. And we've had plenty of great candidates come through where we have a very hard conversation where we say, we really like you, but we don't think we can get you where you're trying to go. And so we want you to think about some other opportunity, because our goal here is to make sure that when our students leave, they have that defining transformational experience that sets them up for that first job, but also puts them in a place where they're going to be successful in the long term. And that happens through the internships. When we're talking about how the curriculum is structured, Naz mentioned how those courses work. We're giving people a chance to take elective courses toward the end of year 1. So if you're going into a marketing role, you can have more marketing coursework. If you're going into a ops management role, you can have more operational academic experience. So you're more qualified when you hit the internship. That's going to make your internship more valuable for you because you're going to contribute at a higher level. You're going to better be able to test drive that company for long-term success, and they're going to be able to better see what you're capable of, which means that if you come out of that and you have an offer, it's a good alignment. It's not something where somebody's going to wind up thinking in a year or 2 years like, oh, that 3 months wasn't a great time period. So the internship is incredibly valuable. We do everything we can, both academically and through co-curricular programs, to set people up to be successful. That is a shared conversation between our admissions team, or between our academic affairs team and our career services team and our student engagement team. And those groups meet on a regular basis. We've got a small office suite where everybody sits together and we talk about that stuff to make sure that the students are getting the most out of their experience. And that kind of intentionality from the day your application is evaluated and determined that an interview makes sense to the moment you graduate is really baked into what we do, so that the career supports the things that are learned in the classroom, and the professional development makes the conversation that much easier for career, and everything works together in one easy, we use a gear in our presentations at orientation, but like it's 3 gears that have to turn together to make the machine work. And that's where we focus on. So when we talk about career, we're talking about the whole you, so that you're going out there, you're getting a job that's fulfilling, you're setting yourself up for career success. Because a lot of times MBAs get sort of pigeonholed into that first job, right? They come in, they know they were unhappy in their previous role, and they just want something better, and somebody told them to get an MBA. And that's great, because that's part of what we do here. But our goal is long-term. We want to make sure that you realize the value of this experience over your entire career. And if you're good, you're only going to be in that first job for a couple of years, and they're going to expect more of you because you've demonstrated competency. So we want to make sure that you're set up for that third job, that fourth job, and whatever job you're ultimately going to retire from.
And
On
actually,
the admissions side,
sorry,
please do, Naz, jump in.
Yeah, I was just going to add, and just to kind of contextualize it even more, I mean, this 2021 graduating class, I mean, when they were seeking internships between year 1 and year 2, 100% of them got internships. Now, of the graduating class at 3 months, 98% had, those jobs, right? So that our placement rate, super high, our salary, starting salary over 130,000, and that's really important, because that just is a testament to how well our career coaches and our, student affairs and student engagement team all work hand in hand to make sure that not only are these students happy, but we are measured on these metrics of success, such as with placement and salary and things like that.
And therefore, Naz, the magic in the admissions department, you're identifying 50 very smart individuals, intentional, as John described them, but also generous, in the way that they will give back, sort of give back. Just as you think about the admissions process and beyond test scores, what do you really like to focus on and say, now there's a characteristic or something that we see in this individual that really excites us?
I think I've said this before in some of these poets and quants, kind of sessions, but it's really grit. It's coachability, grit, and eagerness to roll up your sleeves and really just dive in. This is an experience that we want you to embrace. How often can people say, they go off and do an MBA? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So if you are going to make that investment in UF MBA, we too want to make that investment in you. And so not only do we bring in a small group of individuals that are ready to dive on into, well, I should say dive into the swamp, right? Because we're here in Gainesville, right? But I think beyond that, we want to support them by also offering generous scholarships and making sure that they do see that return on investment. They're going to invest in us as much as we're going to invest in them. And that's something that on the admissions side, it's really important to find that culture and fit to make sure that we find those 50 students that are ready to be Gators.
Right. And briefly, John, you've talked about already the range of options. Small is beautiful. And you can be nimble and really adapt to the market. So, over the next 3, 5, 10 years, how do you think the programs will continue to evolve and really match both, student needs and those of recruiters?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is going to be timely response, right? We are clearly in a period of uncertainty. The inflation numbers, you can read lots of headlines about a recession. There's a lot happening in terms of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Like, the world is unsettled. And so being able to respond quickly, I think, is going to be an important characteristic as programs evolve over the next couple of years, because the things that we've taught historically are going to be applicable, but they're going to have to be updated to involve a world that isn't nearly as settled as it was even 5 years ago. And so, how do we make sure that the training and the concepts are relevant? And part of that is focusing on what do we do? And while we teach finance or we teach accounting, what we're really trying to do is critical thinking and decision making. And so how do we make classes and provide experiences that are focused on that? And part of that's going to be information based, right? So the University of Florida is very focused on the artificial intelligence initiative. We've got a really good partnership with IBM that's rolling out. We've got a couple other things, including one of the largest academic supercomputers in the world that's backing a university-wide interdisciplinary focus on artificial intelligence. We're seeing that here in the College of Business as well. And so it's that kind of stuff that we'll look at. Programs are going to have to be able to respond. We can't just rely on what we've always done. Another big investment that we're making here in the University of Florida MBA program is well-being. And if we think about this from Naz mentioned the investment that they make, the students make in us. If we think about who we are, like being right, being well, is what makes us capable of achieving our best. And so if you're an organization and you hire somebody, you want some degree of certainty that they're going to be able to deliver on the things that you see in them when you make that offer. And so we're working on creating a culture of well-being. We're staffing up in support of all sorts of both support while students are here, but also helping them learn the concepts that will make them better managers, because we know that as people enter the workforce, they're being tasked more and more with making sure that their teams are well, or that their corporate culture is well. And those are skills that have to be taught, right? We can't just imagine them and have them happen. We have to help people understand how to intentionally bring those to bear. And that's something that we're working on here at Warrington, making part of our value proposition and our understanding of our culture is how are we creating students that are well when they're with us and capable of being well in their organizations when they go out, so that they're able to have those long-term careers, so they're not burning out in 2 years, so that their teams aren't crushing them and they're not able to achieve the things that their companies want. And so I think that's going to be something that a lot of programs are going to have to figure out. And we're trying to be ahead of the game on that, certainly as we move forward. And then outside of that, I think it's going to be, as more and more information is available about individuals and about who we are, we're going to have a better understanding of how do people actually demonstrate competency. Like the diploma used to be enough, but now we've got all kinds of simulations and case competitions and experiential ways for people to demonstrate that they're capable. And so how do we take those as a program and put them out there for organizations to be able to evaluate and to use that to make informed decisions, so that they're getting good students and ultimately giving them jobs that are beneficial to the organization, and everybody wins in the value chain. Because, you know, that's our goal ultimately. We want students to be successful. We want the companies and organizations that look to us for talent to feel like they're getting a good return when they hire our graduates. And I know this is not specific to UF. Every MBA program out there wants that to work. But if we as a program, if we as a degree in terms of the MBA are going to be successful going forward, we've got to continually prove that we're producing graduates that are delivering that change for organizations, for society, for communities, et cetera.
Right. Wow. It feels like we've covered so much in the last half hour. Maybe just the final question then for you, Naz, with all of our viewers and people that will be following this in the weeks to follow. John talked about being timely. Now, there is an admission cycle coming up, 2022, 2023 already. Just in terms of how viewers can get in touch with the UF MBA, you know, with your team, with students, alums, and you know, really find out more about the program and why it would be such a great fit for them.
Yeah, so easy, just shoot me an email, give me a call. I am always happy to talk to anybody who's interested in getting an MBA, and I can coach you on which program I think would be best suited for you. So just reach out to me. But if not me, if I'm on the road or something, reach out to any of my team members. We have online information sessions weekly. We host sessions here in Gainesville. We even do GMAT boot camps. So we have so many opportunities for you as a prospective student to connect, but please, please, please just send me an email or give me a call.
Wow, it really is personal from start to finish. Thank you, both of you, because you've made it very personal and you've given so much of your time, commitment to this wonderful program, and the energy just jumps off the screen. So John, Naz, always lovely to see you, and expect that phone to start ringing. Thank you both very, very much.
Thanks for having us, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.